Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Texas Blockchain's podcast. The reason behind this was that we're at a point right now from 2017 to where we are in 2023 where we believe we're providing a lot of value to our members. We're working with great companies, we're working with researchers to write up blogs to SOK research. We're looking at working with developers at these protocols to take out members to hackathons. We're incubating companies. We're actually doing DAO work, so you're delegating voting rights and you're doing proposals, and we launch our fund. So we're at a point right now where we want to take all this value that we're getting as an exec members and really take it out to not only our members in Austin, take it out to communities abroad and communities even internationally. So really excited for this. It's our first episode and wouldn't have started it any other way than with the founder of Texas Blockchain back in 2017. We wouldn't be having this podcast if it wasn't for you. So introducing Alan Orwick, he's the founder of Quai Network, previous alumni at UT Austin, a CS degree, previously Apple, and now a CEO of Dominant Strategy who's building our Quai. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Julian. I appreciate you having me here and talking a bit on the Texas Blockchain podcast and setting up today to elaborate on Quai and as well as my background. As you said, UT alum, graduated in 2020. It was a weird time to graduate, but it was also a lot of fun being able to go through and create Texas Blockchain alongside some of my other co-founders and see where it has grown to today.
Amazing. So looking at, before we talk about Quai and where it's at right now, like who's Alan? And what's kind of history around that, leading into UT Austin, and then kind of we'll talk about the journey leading up to Quai at UT Austin through research and stepping into that.
Sure. So started in Austin, sort of got my footing here, grew up in the Austin area. I was always interested in crypto and blockchain since about 2015, 2016, so that actually sort of sparked in high school where I started tinkering with Bitcoin and started to learn some of the fundamentals. I was studying computer science early on in high school, so programming things like Minecraft bots and all of the RuneScape hacks and just various things, just tinkering with technology. And that evolved into my computer science curriculum where I started with just undergraduate courses, and then my first internship was at Q2E Banking. I was doing software engineering there, which is a local banking company in Austin, and I said, hey, this Ethereum stuff is really cool when Ethereum started to ramp up programmatic blockchain capabilities, having smart contracts and digital ownership that way really intrigued me. So everyone at Q2 was like, you know what, you're an intern, we don't really want to look into this. So I took that ambition, applied it here at UT, created Texas Blockchain, was the founding president. I founded it alongside Matt Kimmel, Jake Kaczmarek.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, Preston Sledge, some of those other great guys that helped coordinate and put on some of the first both research and curriculum at UT Austin. So we were the first undergraduate course to do blockchain.
Yeah, and that course is still going on.
Yeah.
That course is still strong. EEK 179 or something like that.
179. I think it's one of those sort of filler classes that you can take. And then I think it's actually expanded to some of the larger curriculum, both in undergraduate and graduate studies now. So it's been great to see that grow. So with Texas Blockchain, we started working on blockchain research. So one of the first professors to sort of approach us was Sriram Vishwanath, who has been absolutely instrumental to both the growth of blockchain at UT and in Austin. He pretty much knows everybody. It's insane to see him get that sort of network. But then also, coming to us as a research advisor and saying, hey, here's a lot of ideas to work on, both, from a academia, but then also implementation and real world perspective. So we started with BlockReduce, which was the original white paper for Quai. It was the idea of merged mining and sharding to create a system that is high throughput, but also as decentralized as Bitcoin. So sort of taking the best of something like Solana, taking that low fee, that high throughput, the high transaction per second count, and then applying it to something as decentralized as Bitcoin. And so between my academia research and then also my undergraduate studies, I did some time at Apple as a software engineer, and that was in Austin as well, in the supply chain area. And then left Apple full-time to co-found Quai and take that into a real product. So we were backed by Polychain Capital and Alumni Ventures, so I have some institutional backing there, and our team is about 20 people now, primarily in Austin, but also some people across the globe. So
Really cool.
yeah, a lot of fun building that up.
Yeah, no, I was with the growth, just kind of
Yeah.
seeing how it launched, and you guys have just on all ends really have gotten it going. And before we talk about Quai and where it's at now, looking at like what you did in UT with research, with doing a startup long term and turning that into a product, I see many synergies, and we like in the same sort of with many students in the same sort of realm. That's, hey, you're trying to do something, you're at a research stage, you want to turn that into a product, but you're still at university. So what's your advice to students in the same environment at an undergraduate level that want to get recognition from professors, and really take something that is not only a thought, but something that is actual practical and could be a real life implementation? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so entrepreneurship in college is definitely a struggle because you're always worrying about classes and how am I going to build this in my free time, and then also have a social life. So being from that background, I definitely hear a lot of people where they're like, could be impossible if I don't have the right avenues to actually get growth and build this. So having a tech background was very beneficial because in my coursework I was actually learning fundamentals on how to program, how to build applications the right way. But then a lot of people in that same curriculum don't have the expertise on, okay, how do I market this and gain users and actually get that into the public? Gotcha. So it's always good to be sort of crossing your social groups on both. All right, well, I have business friends, but then I also have tech friends that can help me build a system and build a way of having a robust product. So my experience at UT was very much on both ends. I think joining as many organizations as I can within Texas blockchain, we really try to promote entrepreneurship. We wanted people to build dApps, doing hackathons, 100%. Getting feedback from the Austin community. Being at UT is just absolutely fantastic because you can go downtown to places like Capital Factory. You can go to the various VCs in the Austin area. There's a wide network of angel investors as well that are always willing to hear students and listen to what they're working on. So I would say from that perspective, just utilize those resources that are available. And for people, especially in Texas blockchain, there are people that are a wider network that you can reach out to through that, such as myself, such as Sriram Vishwanath, Cesar Fracase, other potential professors and potential people that want to try your product or use what you're doing to build that tool or that new product or that new company.
Definitely, and that's like what I've been telling members in the club. Really get involved. It's very meritocratic.
Yeah.
Like blockchain is, and that's why I love it. It's you can be whatever age, from whatever background, if you really dedicated and you really want to push at it. There's benefits along that, and it's very merit-based, looking at advisors and people that are angel investing. So shout out to a lot of people in Austin who have just been awesome in reaching out, wanting to promote student education. That's been such a strong thing that we believe in, that hopefully universities will believe in the future, and leading up. So definitely.
There's a lot of different ways to get your name out there, get what you're working on out there. But I think just being involved in those communities is really important.
And did you see within that time period that you were at UT, okay, you've got the marketing, you've got the business side, but you've also got research and architecture and learning about that. What split did you see in your time at UT when you were studying leading up to this? And then I assume research was a lot of primarily first, getting that done, and then learning how to actually explain what you were doing. I'm sure that was a stage where your parents were like, what do you spend your time on?
What is even Bitcoin, right? What are these
cryptocurrencies?
So the research part is extremely, esoteric and complex, and you spend a lot of nights in the lab, like working on these weird problems and just banging your head against the wall and like, why can't this code work, or why can't this theory work, or what I'm trying isn't equating to what I'm expecting, and just that scientific method of just continually testing your hypothesis and ensuring that you're getting some outcome and working towards some goal is really just the sort of essence of that research. I would say, even today we're still very research heavy at Quai. We want to be pushing that frontier and also just getting all of that technology to a point where it is just the most sort of sound it can be, and as robust as it can be and as efficient as it can be is always at the top of our mind, especially in the crypto space when you have things that need to be secure and need to be trusted for these financial systems. So, I can't speak to every project, but my anecdotal experience is that research is just always one of the most important things, and that also is just what interests me.
Yeah.
Is trying new technologies, getting in there and looking at how to improve systems and looking at how to improve the way things function, because without a paradigm shift in a way, or without a way of driving that technology, you're really not going to see anything fruitful at the user layer. And we've seen that with a lot of technology shifts, is there has to be a core innovation, and sometimes that core innovation doesn't have to happen at the first wave. So if you look at, say, like the iPhone, of course we had like Blackberries and other things that sort of experimented there, but at the iPhone, it's like there's a new fresh way, but they still had a paradigm shift of how that technology was applied. And I still think that's very research in and of itself, is how can I take that technology and make it better. And so starting from a university standpoint, I think students have the most exposure because they're at the actual place where research is being done and where those ideas are occurring and where professors are continually refreshing what they teach and refreshing what they do. And you're also at the time of your life where you have the most intellectual curiosity and the most freedom to explore that sort of research. So I would say, on the research side and on academia, make the most of that.
Yeah, and I would say you're most optimistic and naive. So you don't know things that maybe didn't work in the past, and you think you could do it, which is definitely a benefit, and I definitely think many students should be acknowledgeable about that. But thinking about new improvements, new efficiencies, I know we had the last testnet last year in March, and a lot of work went up to this one. It actually launched yesterday. So as we speak, yesterday was the Iron Age testnet launch. Really, really exciting. Do you want to speak about it a bit about it?
So in the history of Quai, sort of, we iterated as a small team, and we got this core belief that we want to create this sharded network of merge mine chains. Again, two very complex topics in and of themselves. What is sharding? What is merge mining? Why do we need blockchain anyway? How is crypto going to be used? How do we create this user base? How do we evolve this tool? And the roadmap for the first two is we had Stone Age and then we had Bronze Age testnets. The Stone Age was sort of a Discord of 50 people all trying to download random software and try to run this thing. And I remember actually being in this lab here, because I believe it was about a year and a half after I graduated, and just collaborating with Shakara, who's one of our other founding engineers, and just being like, hey dude, like we gotta run this software, like we gotta get people to try to do this. And we had a semblance of something that worked, and so took that, expanded on it in the Bronze Age. In the Bronze Age, we actually had wider success because we had, I want to say, about 2,000 nodes come online. That would have put us in the top 5 decentralized protocols up there with Solana and Avalanche in a testnet, and a vast array of miners online as well. So I think of those 2,000 nodes, we had about 1,100 distinct mining addresses. And then that ran for 2 months. So, from March to about May, we did transactions wasn't our main priority, but we did about 120,000 distinct transactions on that testnet, just ensuring things worked. And then from that May point until now, so a little over a year, it's been quite some time. We've been hardening that protocol and getting it ready for mainnet, and that is the journey that is probably the hardest. And there's a bit of like trough of sorrow where you're like going through and wondering like, is this really going to work? Is this worth it? Are we going to see the end of this? And the Iron Age marks sort of the end of that journey and the end of that roadmap to say we have something that we're confident in. We have something we're confident to get to mainnet in, and this software is sound and robust enough to get us to a global decentralized system that can run with high throughput. So the core changes there, we modified our consensus mechanism. So that original white paper that I talked about, block reduce, we've actually adapted some and modified it to fit better in that hierarchy of shards. So how to coordinate many blockchains at once versus running a single blockchain. And then we've also adapted our mining algorithm to be ProgPal instead of Blake 3. Blake 3 is more prone to ASICs, so you can create an ASIC that can mine at a higher rate to overcome commodity hardware. But ProgPal is actually more GPU focused and memory hard, so that commodity hardware such as the AI machines and others can participate.
So I can't run on a CPU anymore.
I wouldn't advise it. But it's better to run a CPU against a GPU than a CPU and an ASIC.
That's 100%. I agree. No, that's awesome. Really taking it not from an only ASIC point of view, really taking it to GPUs. I know I've tried to get an ASIC before, and it's not fun.
It is. It's tricky. I mean, I have a few, and setting them up is fun, and then seeing how they run. But the difference is Bitcoin, when it launched, it's it's safer to have ASICs now because it creates a moat, but also there wasn't an ASIC on Bitcoin until 2013, 2014. So maybe even earlier, but again, there was some time. But now ASICs are in the market, and you have to be aware that even FPGAs can come and attack something like Blake 3 relatively easily. So there's a bit of a technical trade-off.
There's different attack vectors there. Interesting. Right. And looking at kind of the hierarchical sharding, I think that's a specifically interesting part of Quai, in my opinion. From what I know, different regions having different transactions based off its value, based off its security. Could you just elaborate in the small time that we have on that?
Sure. So the topology of Quai allows essentially a blockchain to have a tree structure to where there's blockchains that trickle down into blockchains, and there's more as they create the ability to have higher transactions per second. So essentially creating more block space, but still having the same level of security. And in short, we haven't really modified the blockchain trilemma in any way. If you're in Texas blockchain, I hope you're familiar with the blockchain trilemma.
They did last week.
If you're not in the club, then join. And outside of that, the trilemma itself is a trade-off in decentralization, security, and throughput. So some blockchains have to say, okay, I want to be more decentralized but do less transactions per second, say like Bitcoin. Or if I want to be less decentralized and do more transactions per second, like Solana. What we're doing is we're actually operating in a way that can trade the global consensus for local consistency and increase the throughput of those individual shards, but have those shards eventually reference each other and create that global security and global consensus over time. And so when you say there's regions and zones, those regions and zones are dynamic, and we can have as many of them as we need based off of user demand. So the more transactions there are per second, the more shards there will be. But the trade-off is, as there's more demand, the longer it takes to go from shard to shard. So say if I want to be in shard 1 and I want to go to shard 2 when there's only 2 shards, it might be quick. But if I want to go from shard 1 to shard 100, well, it might take you a couple hours just because there's so much demand on the network.
That makes sense. The more shards, the more execution you have to cover, the more consensus that you have to get. So it's very much something that's almost like a grandpa. I don't know if you know the grandpa consensus.
I'm familiar with Polkadot some and how they applied that, but
in terms of finality and trying to get consensus on there.
No, so I mean, they're still doing it in some of what a round robin proof of stake way.
Yes.
But ours is objective and doesn't require any sort of time or any sort of elective voting for who is contributing to the dynamic. And there's no auctions either when it would look like Parachain. We're looking at the actual intrinsic throughput of the network combined with the uncle rate and sort of historical latencies.
And how does the kind of pricing, so I want more security, obviously I'll pay more for that. How does that sort of work? Putting more computation on a transaction and more emphasis, what are the trade-offs for you at a user end?
Sure.
Yeah.
So when you say I want more security, you can sort of think like, well, if I'm in a proof of work system, I know how much security this transaction has due to the amount of work done on top of it. Yeah. And you'll likely wait if you want to say buy a house or something, or more so if you're selling your house so that people don't keep your money in other assets. So when you do that sort of transaction, you will have that work accumulate on top of that transaction. And as those other shards reference into each other through what are called coincident blocks, so those blocks that achieve a simultaneous threshold of the zone, region, and prime, then you will achieve that incidence of work that was accumulated by other shards. So you can sort of think of them adding other layers of work on top of that transaction.
Understood, almost added work, added protection, added security.
And so if you're doing a cheap transaction like buying a Coke, you don't really care much about your economic finality and the security on top of it. But like I said, if you're buying a house or something, you would likely wait. And so the trade-off isn't really, where do I operate? It's more so how long do I wait? And that's similar to proof-of-work systems like Bitcoin and Monero and Zcash and other.
Makes sense. So we're talking about buying a car or buying a house, buying a Coke. So it kind of seems like a lot of consumer-focused money and decentralized way to do that. So moving on to mainnet and past Iron Age, if you had to summarize, what's the goal of Quai? Well, if you want to look back 10 years and think about what you've done and really be like, hey, Quai has done this to change how we did that. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said, I've been in crypto since 2015, 2016, and one of the things that lured me in was crypto being an alternative money system. and really a lot of that freedom of how you transact and being able to look at the existing legacy systems and what those sort of incumbents can do and influence control. So with Quai, I think providing an opportunity for people to utilize digital payments in a free way and have that use case of, okay, I want to transact and do things like buy a Coke at a gas station, or have a low enough fee to consistently play a video game on chain, or remittances in that case. And so I think a lot of blockchain systems are innovating in that area, although there are a few key things to Quai that make it unique to have that value proposition. I think proof of work is one of them. Sharding is one of them as well. That combination with merge mining to create security is something that benefits the payments area. And then, of course, there's a long list of other features I could elaborate on, but the short answer would be payments for what we want to go and target. I think comparing things to Lightning and Ethereum, L2s, and other systems that are tackling those, they've all have their own shortcomings.
Yeah.
And with Quai, we have a last mover advantage to really analyze and say, where have these systems failed and how can we bring that into our layer one to really not get the best of both worlds, but target that use case and say, this is a blockchain platform that can serve that need.
Definitely, and it's awesome looking at that last mover advantage, really like analyzing everyone and how much work there's been in a non-biased manner,
Totally. I mean, blockchains are hard to change, which is like the main sort of crux. When you look at Ethereum and having them upgrade from proof of work to proof of stake, like that was a very long and archaic process to have all of those nodes go and run that new software.
Governance isn't quick.
Right. And so, I mean, even if you look at Bitcoin, like the SegWit fork in 2017, that was contentious and highly debated. So for all of the things that we want in Quai, you kind of only get one shot. And outside of that, it's hard to evolve a system past that. So last mover advantage in analyzing that is a bit of a, there's a balance. Because we want to do all the right things, but we also want to execute on time.
In a totally timely manner, definitely. I think kind of before we could get to know where to find you guys and what you guys are up to, I think talking about two parts, community engagement and then university engagement. I know I was like the 30th follower of Quai. I was like the 15th guy on Discord, whatever. And now we're looking at, 200,000 almost?
Yeah, 190,000 on Twitter.
Yeah.
I want to say 140,000 on Discord. The community has been great. I think that really speaks to what we're building. A lot of that is people that just want to try new technology or participate to just go find the new chain and take part in that system. But I really do think there is a growing community of people that see what we're building and notice that we're honest about what we're building too. I'd be the first person to admit any shortcomings that I have as a founder or as the project and where we want to go and what we want to do. So I think we listen well, we have good service and support for our community. We really want to be there and take care of those people that have that same ethos that we do. But the community has grown pretty significantly.
Stats don't lie.
They do not lie.
Stats don't lie. I can just say that. And then I think looking past community engagement, university engagement, obviously we're here, you were a founder of Texas Blockchain, we've got so many things we want to do with you. So looking at your guys' end, what do you think out of the university sense, how do you want to see that interaction going forward in terms of internships? How do students get involved? How does that funnel where academia really goes past a point where that's funneling into what's happening and driving the space?
I think starting in academia is really important, and we've had success before with hackathons and partnering with people like Texas Blockchain and getting awareness of Quai and having people trying to tinker and deploy on Quai. And I think right now, we have a lot of the same people that are, like you said, early participants that have been waiting to utilize things like Iron Age Testnet to deploy their own project or deploy a dApp, and we want to utilize that, and we want people to give feedback to that system, because whether it's through ambassadors or just people that are unaffiliated wanting to try a new system, universities are a good way to do that. And we really want to partner with Texas Blockchain. I know we've done a lot of events in the past, whether it was at Consensus or South by Southwest or other events. So we want to keep that relationship going and strong, and of course, continue to take what we learn in industry and help you guys with internships as well, and keep those sorts of roles open and look at who can come in from school and help us out and provide that expertise. So I think there's a lot of different avenues, and there's a lot to brainstorm there.
100%, and we're excited about that. I think looking from 2017, what you guys have done, all the other founders, what other guys before the execs right now have done, we're really just trying to do the same goal, moving towards in the same way. So really excited for what's to come. This is I think this is the conclusion of our first podcast episode. This is so awesome to have Quai, Alan Orwick on, the CEO of Dominant Strategy, who works on Quai. They're really upcoming mainnets launching soon. So everyone, feel free to check them out. And where can they check you out?
Yeah, so QU.ai is our domain name, and that should have most of our references. Twitter is Quai Network, QUAI Network. And then our Discord is discord.gg/Quai, I believe is how you can get to it.
We'll have it down below, I'm
Links
sure.
down below.
Yeah.
So yeah, join the community, participate in the Iron Age testnet, and if you'd like to reach me for anything, feel free to shoot me an email or have Julian reach out if you're in touch with them, and hopefully I can be around a few more Texas blockchain events. I know we have one tonight.
Yeah,
so that'll be a lot of fun.
Come out. Let's go. First one done. Second one coming. See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.